Hare Krishna. So we welcome everyone for studying Srimad Bhagavatam together. We have been studying the passing away of Bhishma Dev, one of the great Mahajanas, stalwarts in the path of bhakti. And we have till now studied some very, very important sections of this chapter. This chapter begins with Krishna's love for his devotees. How Krishna inspired Yudhishthira to not get convinced by even Vyasadeva himself in his dilemma about or unhappiness about the war and he being the cause for it. And he arranged with that as a pretext the meeting between Yudhishthira Maharaj, now as a king of the whole world, coming across Bhishma Dev, who was very much anxious to see his grandsons happy. So Krishna really cared for Bhishma Dev on many levels. As they say, the greatest need is at the time of the death. So Lord made sure that Bhishma's passing away from this world will not be an ordinary event. Besides that, he exactly understood the mind of Bhishma Dev. The one anxiety that he had, what is going to happen to the Pandavas? He wanted to personally mitigate that anxiety. And in this way, in many other ways, Krishna expressed his love for Bhishma Dev. Lord is called Achyuta or Bhakta Vatsal, one who never fails in his reciprocation of love towards his devotees. Then we learnt from Bhishma Dev how to receive Krishna and saintly persons when they come to meet us. Despite having lack of facility, the way Bhishma Dev invited everyone, appeased everyone felt completely satisfied. At home, in the presence of Bhishma Dev, on the battlefield, where there are all dead carcasses or dead bodies of warriors lying around. Even there people were comfortable. That was the caliber of Bhishma Dev's reception. Then we learnt expertise of Bhishma Dev in various subjects. How as a person, as a devotee, Bhishma Dev was so competent. He lacked nothing practically when it comes to counseling, management, teaching, what to speak of his personal stature as a spiritualist. He lacked nothing. He was the most competent person to be approached and inquired from, even by Dharmaraj himself, one who knows Dharma. So it seems that even Dharmaraj sometimes gets into confusion and he needs counseling. And for him also there is a need of someone superior who can give him good advice. Then we saw teachings of Bhishma Dev. Various types of dharmas were discussed. Inspired by Krishna, Yudhishthira was asking questions, and inspired by Krishna, Bhishma Dev was giving answers. So in this way, the dialogue went on for our enlightenment, and we had a long discussion on these two topics, Moksha Dharma, Sri Dharma, Raja Dharma, and in Varnashrama Dharma, in our previous classes. Then, after all this discussion, Bhishma Dev started describing Krishna's transcendental position and also the position of the Pandavas, how great Pandavas are. He was full of appreciation for the Lord and his devotees. So much so that when he's talking about Kashta and Anyaya that happened in the lives of Pandavas, he could not reconcile it other than the fact that Lord and the Pandavas have some mysterious, inconceivable relationship with each other. There is no other explanation that can be given as to why Lord dealt with the Pandavas in such a way. So that was his appreciation, and we also learned during that section how we should make right decisions when we are undergoing Kashta and Anyaya in our life. Then now the topic will further develop into how to develop absorption in Krishna. Of all things that we have got to offer to Krishna in our possession, our bank balance, home, various resources, facilities, they actually don't belong to us. They come from Krishna only. The thing that the jiva can actually offer truly is his consciousness, thinking, feeling and willing. And this is the gift one can offer to the Lord, and that is what Bhishma chose to do at the time of his death. So this is how it will begin, the topic of absorption in Krishna. But we will go through this last connecting verse where the conclusion is coming up of all the discussion that happened between Yudhishthira and Bhishma Dev. So in this verse it says, Dharma artha kama mokshamscha saha upayan yatha muni. So what all in conclusion did Bhishma describe? Dharma artha kama moksha, what are they exactly? And saha upayan, what are the means to achieve them? So that he described. And how did he describe them? He knows that people love stories, and through stories only they can best understand concepts. So, nana akhyana itihaseshu. Although he was speaking very grave concepts, important concepts, none of it was spoken without a story. There was great description of Ramayana, Mahabharata, all the histories, Puranas, and through that the very, very subtle, deep principles of Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha were being explained. Varanayam asa, Tattvavit. So this is the expertise of a genuine teacher. He makes most complex subject matters very easy to understand. And the word yatha muni, yatha means as it is, Prabhupada says. Accurately he described, without adulteration. Sometimes in the name of making things simple, we dilute them or we deviate from the original concept. Yatha means as it is. So this is a rapid summary of all that we did in this chapter till now, because we are meeting after a long time. So I hope that makes sense to study further. Prabhupada in the purport makes one very important point. He says that Vedic literatures have Puranas, Mahabharata and Ramayana. These are factual historical narrations. Iti ha asa. Thus it certainly happened. Although not in chronological order. So what is the problem with modern historians when they study the Vedas, especially the Puranas? They say it is not chronologically ordered, that is why it is all mythology. But in history, chronology is not as important as the lessons that you are supposed to learn from the history, which they miss out on. What is modern history? It's a chronological listing of successful dead people. So to be part of history, you have to be successful and also you have to be dead. Then only people talk about you. So this is modern history, whatever we study. But hardly there is anything to learn. If you read our history books of children, what do they learn from it? Most probably they learn is might is right. But they don't learn all this, what all things we are learning through Bhagavatam when we are studying. So that's why Vedic literatures, Vyasadeva did not consider chronology very important. Because chronologically speaking, punaha charvita charvananam, what is the human civilization doing? Again and again chewing the chewed. There is eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Again eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Chronologically arranging this, what benefits anybody will get in their life. But the most important part is Sambandha Vidheya Prayojana. Our relationship with the Lord, our following of Dharma in this world, and parodharma for the world we are supposed to attain next. That is the most important part of the discussion. So Prabhupada says, we are simply concerned with the instructive lessons of such incidents, even though they are not in order, by our limited range of understanding. Which also means that they are in order. It's just that order in the time scale is not very obvious to us. It takes some time to study Bhagavatam repeatedly, again and again and again. Then we start making sense. My God, this is also chronologically ordered. It is just that the narration within narration is going on. That's why we feel that it is not chronologically ordered. But actually it is still having some logic in the way the narrations are arranged. Now, after having all these explanations given, what happened? Dharmam pravadatastasya sakalah pratyupasthitaha yo yoginas chandamrutyor vanchitastatuttarayanaha. Translation.
While Vishnudev was describing of occupational duties, the sun's course ran into the northern hemisphere. This period is desired by mystics to die as a
Chandamrutyoho, Swachandamrutyoho, one who decides when he would like to die, is called Chandamrutyu. So that's one of the name of Bhishmadev. So Dharmam Pravatastasya, as he was speaking about Dharma, Kalaha Prati Upasthitaha, Bhishma noticed that the sun's course has become shifted. Earlier it was in Dakshinayana, now suddenly Uttarayana has begun. So it seems that they were speaking for quite a bit of days. It was just not some few hours of discussion. They are observing the sun's course, what is happening. Kalaha Prati Upasthitaha. Now the time has become very favorable as per the Yoga Mishrita Bhakti to quit the body. So Chandamrutyoho, Bhishmadev, one who could quit his body at his will, Vanchitaha Tattu Uttarayanaha. He was desirous that he should quit his body during this Uttarayan. This is called education. Education means one should have perfect control over one's body, mind, senses, words, intelligence, ego, and eventually even deciding when to quit this world and how to attain spiritual world. This is real education. How many people in this world get such education in their life? How many of us can confidently say that after our education we can decide the time of our death? We can decide where to go after death. So this is why it's incomplete, misdirected education that we gain. But in Vedic culture, every single person practically, whoever had Vedic knowledge, was capable of at least ascertaining certain basic course of his life, how he would like to take his life through, and also how he would like to quit this world. So Prabhupada gives a very lengthy description about what is the path of the mystics, how they choose to die at this time and what happens to them in the purport. In the Bhagavad Gita also that description comes, which will be given in the next purport. But through that description, when Bhishmadev is choosing such a conducive time for his quitting this world, what do we understand? Humility of Bhishmadev. Bhishmadev is already a pure devotee. He doesn't need all this favorable time, unfavorable time. Even if he were to die in an accident, still he can think of Krishna and go back to Godhead. But Bhishmadev is so humble, he thinks I am not such a great devotee, better I arrange everything very pakka and then only quit my body. So that is the mood in which he is arranging his departure. Text 30. Tadopasamhrutya girah sahasrani vimukta sangam mana adi purushe krishne lasat peta pate chaturbhuje purasthite milita druvyadharayat. Translation.
Thereupon, that man who spoke on different subjects with thousands of meanings and fought on thousands of battlefields and protected thousands of men stopped speaking and being completely free from all bondage, withdrew his mind from everything else and fixed his wide open eyes upon the original personality of God, Shri Krishna, who stood before him, four-handed, dressed in yellow garments that glittered and shined.
So Prabhupada is quoting Bhagavad Gita 8.5 to 15 in the purport. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yo, what is that? Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tejati ante kalevaram tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhya cha. So these verses till 15 are description of Yoga Mishra Bhakti, typically. So there is Bhakti, but it is tinged with Ashtanga Yoga practice. So going to the verse, Sahasrani is a very important word. Sahasrani is the name of Bhishma Dev, who was expert in thousands of sciences and arts. Sahasrani. In simple words, it is called possessing thousands of treasures. In modern times, people don't understand, even if they want money, prestige, control over others, or some so-called stature in life. The problem is they are not willing to pay the price that is needed to gain these things. The secret is we have to go on adding value into ourselves so that we become valuable to others. We have to go on adding value into ourselves so that we become valuable to others. So value is added on many terms. First of all, there is value in terms of character. The higher the caliber of our character, we naturally become valuable. Second way to add value is to gain competences. So whichever field we are given talent by God's arrangement, we should gain competency. Like Arjuna was known as the best archer. So when it comes to establishing dharma, Krishna chosen to fight the battle. So we have to go on adding competences that are needed for our service towards Krishna. So that is another way to add value. Sometimes we just think 16 माला हो गया, 4 नियम हो गए और प्रसाद खा लिया, आज का दिन खत्म. Life becomes sometimes so stagnated. There is no such a thought that how can I add value into myself so that I can become valuable in the mission of the Lord. The third way to add value is that there are existing values or competences that we have to increase our capacity in doing those same things nicely. So let's say we are already chanting 16 rounds. So that's already fixed. But what is the quality of that chanting? So we have to build our capacity to practice spiritual culture. So in this way, when we go on adding value into ourselves, we naturally become valuable. People will come to you without you advertising yourself, and they will tell you that I need this value that you have. Can I learn from you? Can I be your student or whatever, disciple? You can see even in modern times, when a person wants to learn cooking or swimming or tabla, karate, where do they go? They find a person who has most valuable treasure of that particular subject with them. And naturally people go there to get that value. So instead of wasting our time competing with other devotees, speaking ill of others, or brooding over the past, or feeling unhappy or despondent about the bleak future of Kali Yuga, what is going to happen, we better go on doing good work. We don't have time to waste in our life. So then we also someday will become, may not be Sahasrani, but at least Dashani or Shatani, or whatever, that kind of capacity. And you see, in the Vedic culture, personalities like Bhishma, they were actually Ganga Devi, his mother, she took Bhishma with her when he was so young. She said, not now. The father won't enjoy his company. Let him come with me to the celestial planets. There I will introduce him to the, so to say, the dawns, in certain expert fields of human endeavor. And he got trained under such powerful beings, Devarshis and Devatas themselves. And then at an appropriate time she brought him back on earth and said, here is your son. Most valuable person that you can come across. So Bhishma paid that price. It's not that he just became valuable by fluke, by some chance. So we also have to think like this. In our service to Prabhupada and Krishna, how can I become more and more valuable? And we have really no time to waste. If we carefully think about it, every moment matters. And therefore we should associate with people who have value, who have good character, competence, capacities, and also become sincere, as they say, constant learner ourselves. So that is about the word Sahasrani. Now coming to the shloka. Bhishmadev upasamhutya giraha. Giraha means power of speech. Earlier, Yudhishthira had asked so many questions, and Bhishma's mind as well as his power of speech was engaged in multifarious directions. Upasamhrutya, he withdrew it all back. And Vimukta Sangam Mana Adi Purushe. Now he decided that I will invest my power of speech and my mind only in the Supreme Lord. And who is that Adi Purusha? Krishna, Lasat Pitapate, Chaturbhuje. That's an interesting one. The darshan that Bhishma is getting in front of him of Krishna is not two-handed form. For others, Krishna is two-handed, but how is Bhishma seeing him? Four-handed form, because that is his favorite form. So Lord gives darshan just according to your particular mentality. Purasthite, present before him. Amilita druk. Amilita druk means not even blinking his eyelids. Vyadharayat. He completely fixed his eyesight on Krishna. In yoga, Ashtanga yoga, there is a technique called Tratak. In Tratak, you are taught to take one particular object of meditation and completely invest all your thinking, feeling, willing, all your sensory and mental perceptions, prowess fully into dhyana, meditation on that one particular person or object. Just yesterday we did this in our Vidyashram, for the boys. Every evening for 4-5 days we are doing Tratak. So that is the only time they become quiet and very attentive. And they are told you cannot blink your eyes. You have to keep looking at that cow ghee lit flame with full attention. Even if tears come in the eyes, you should not blink. And you have to meditate that the fire element in your eyes and the fire element present before you are in sync with each other. And this meditation also develops your Ajna chakra. You get supernatural powers if you do this meditation properly. So everybody is excited. That's it. Yesterday Nitai came And he was an amazing, what you call, he was fun to be with. You know, he goes around and tells everybody, why are you crying? And so, amilita drugvyatharayat. We see even a greatest yogi like Bhishma Dev, he didn't do tratak on some flame or some crack in the wall or whatever other things that modern so-called yogis tell us. He actually had Chaturbhuja Krishna before him and he completely focused. He invested his consciousness in thinking about Krishna. Of course, why we do this tratak on flame is it has a certain pranic value or whatever, that's a different topic. But in general, even in our japa, when our mind is too much wandering, we should take the Mahamantra in print, put it before us and do tratak. Look at that Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And like that, get our mind to get focused on chanting. Okay. Any comments or questions? We go to the next verse, text 31. Vishuddhaya dharanaya hata shubhas tadikshayaiva shugata yudhashramaha nivrutta sarvendriya vritti vibhramaha तुष्टावजन्यं विसृजत् जनार्दनम्. Translation.
By pure meditation, looking at Lord Sri Krishna, he at once was free from all material inauspiciousness and was relieved of all bodily pains caused by the arrows. Thus, all the external activities of the senses at once stopped, and he prayed that he never could order if all living beings by keeping of all living beings by keeping his
Is this meditation possible for us when we go before the deities? Can we develop such pure meditation by which we become at once freed from all material inauspiciousness? Is deity Krishna? Any doubts? So we have Krishna right before us. Can this meditation relieve our bodily pains? It says here. So, Prabhupada says in the purport, the material body is a gift of material energy called illusion. Technically called illusion. So, material body is a gift of illusion. So, what to do with this material body? While in this body, we have to learn how to become transcendentally situated. And Prabhupada, half the paragraph later, gives the clue. To be able to transcendently be situated, we should be stopping the activities of the impure senses in collaboration with matter. Only Prabhupada can write all this kind of... You got this? Stopping the activities of the impure senses in collaboration with matter. The soul is originally pure and so are also his senses. By material contamination, the senses assume the role of imperfection and impurity. Little later, last line, Lord provides all facilities to fulfill the transcendental desires of his great devotees. So which means when our senses need gratification, we need not search it outside of Krishna consciousness. Just yesterday I was talking to one devotee, one brahmachari. He was telling me, Prabhu, your life has become mechanical. There is no rasa in spiritual life. So we had an interesting discussion about where is rasa. So our technical expectation is that rasa must be somewhere, it must come only through holy name, deity. We have some fixed conception like that. I told him, our every interaction that is happening with every object, every person, every situation is producing rasa. Either material rasa or spiritual. It all depends on where we decide to put our consciousness. So you will find in our day-to-day interaction multitudes of rasa. You will find hasya ras while being with the devotees, dealing around. You will find bibhatsa ras, bhayanak ras. You will find every kind of rasa in day-to-day interactions. Like I was telling him the example, there is one devotee, as soon as he sees me, he gets a question. Prabhuji, one question. And sometimes he will come anywhere. He would come in the bathroom also sometimes. He'll come in my room where I stay. And I'm studying something, suddenly I look up, he says, Prabhuji, one question. And I'm standing right there, asking a question. And I sometimes kind of get scared of him because he really asks technical questions. His questions are like, yesterday he asked me a question that when there is rising of anarthas in the heart, how can I know that is it because of my aparadh or is it because of my cleansing happening nicely of my heart? So these kind of questions he will ask. So to give and whatever I might be doing, I have to really get into like Tattva Sandarbha of Jiva Goswami or something like that, in that mood, to analyze the question and answer it accurately. No question is trivial, but it churns you very nicely. So every time this devotee comes in front of me, I have mixed rasa, that I experience. Sometimes it was Roma. So I stand on the end, another time I feel like running away. It's whatever. So the question is this material or spiritual? In the company of devotees, the various rasas that we experience, that is material or spiritual? How is it spiritual?
Does it depend on the context?
Okay, it depends on the context. It also depends on our approach. What are we, if in the mood of servant, really trying our best, like if I'm really thinking of some service that I'm doing and this is becoming like a burden on me and I'm trying to, whatever, it could be spiritual. It's not necessarily like running away is, bad thing. The point is, moment to moment we are experiencing rasa. It is just that we have to train our consciousness to not fall to the level of mundane rasa and keep it up, that we can figure out transcendental humor in every interaction that is happening around. And this is possible if we practice it. It is not that only in connection with Krishna or holy name are we to experience transcendental rasa. We can experience it every moment in our life. And this is called as rasadnya or rasika, one who knows how to relish rasa in his life. How did I come here? In collaboration with matter. There are things being produced. So we have to choose that I will act on spiritual platform, not allow my consciousness to get down to the mundane rasa level in any interaction with another devotee. Another interesting contemplation to always experience spiritual rasa is to ask an interesting question in every interaction. How can I add value into this person's life? So whichever interaction, husband-wife interaction, parent-child, devotee friends, how can I add value? Whether Krishna conscious value or Varnashrama value or whatever, in the life of this person, and then deal with them accordingly. and we will always remain safe in our reciprocations with people. So there are 2-3 words in the Sanskrit shloka. One is tad ikshaya iva ashu. By the glance of mercy of Krishna, many things happened. Gata yudhashramaha. All the battles, fatigue, yudhashrama, went away. How? By glance of Krishna. Krishna was glancing upon Bhishma Dev and simply having that glance fall upon him. Gata yudhashramaha. Second thing that happened, nivritta sarvendriya vritti vibhramaha. The third line. I hope you are with me. Nivritta sarva indriya vritti vibhramaha. Vibhrama means various wanderings of the senses. Krishna says, Indriyanam hi charatam yanmano anuvidhiyate tadasya harati prajna vayurnava vimambhasi. Any senses, any of the senses fall upon any of the sense objects. Senses are constantly roaming for enjoyment, and whatever comes in the range as a sense object, immediately they grab it. Indriyanam hi charatam. Senses are constantly doing browsing. Charte rehte wo log. Of what? Sense objects. Yan manaha anuvidhiyate. As soon as mind and the sense object, they get aligned immediately. Tadasya harati prajna. The prajna, accumulated spiritual intelligence, वो पूरा हाईजैक करके उसको लिया जाता है उनके द्वारा. वायुर्नाव विमांभसी. Like a boat that is swept away by a powerful wind. So this is called vritti vibhrama, technically. So by the glance of Krishna, when we go before the deities and we are taking darshan of Krishna, like today morning I was doing deity worship, and this constant thought in my head was this: how can I get freed from attraction to material things and develop transcendental attraction to this Sachidananda things that are made available. So the more we allow ourselves to be in the glance of Krishna, in other words, in the firing range of the spiritual master, that much easily sarva indriya vritti vibhramaha, they will all go away from our life. And that glance also inspired prayers. Tushtava janyam. Tushtava means Bhishma started praying to appease the Lord. And now begins the 11 prayers offered by Bhishma Dev. What I will do today is to tell you the meter in which these prayers are to be sung. If you want, you can record, because I want you to by heart them. These are prayers on the battlefield by a warrior. I don't know whether you like these kind of things. What should a dying warrior pray to Krishna? So 32 to 42 prayers of Bhishma Dev, and the best gift that he is offering in those prayers to Krishna are his thoughts. And he begins by that statement, iti mati. Iti mati means, now I begin offering of my thoughts to Krishna. And then the whole prayer continues. What is the only position we have? Our thinking, feeling, willing. We have to offer it to Krishna. So we go to the prayers. What should we do? We should sing all of them first, or we should sing one and then see what can be done. All through. I am not very expert. My tongue is not yet accustomed. I may make mistakes. Even if you make some recordings, you have to tolerate my mistakes in between. Shri Bhishma Uvacha. Iti matirupakalpita vitrushna Bhagavati satvata pungave vibhumi स्वसुखमुपगते क्वचिद्विहर्तुम् प्रकृतिमुपेयुषि यद्भवप्रवाहः त्रिभुवनकमनं तमालवर्णम् रविकरगौरवराम्बरं दधाने वपुरलककुलावृताननाब्जम् विजयसखेरतिरस्तु मे नवद्या युधितुरगरजो विधूम्रविश्वक् कचलुलितश्रमवार्यलङ्कृतास्ये मम निशितशरैर्विभिद्यमाना त्वचि विलसत्कवचेस्तु कृष्ण आत्मा सपदि सखिवचो निशम्य मध्ये निजपरयोर्बलयो रथं निवेश्य स्थितवति परसैनिकायुरक्ष्णा ऋतवति पार्थसखे रतिर्ममास्तु व्यवहितपृतना मुखं निरीक्ष्य स्वजनवधाद् विमुखस्य दोषबुद्ध्या कुमतिमहरदात्मविद्ययाय चरणरते परमस्य तस्य मेस्तु स्वनिगममपाहाय मत्प्रतिज्ञा मृतमधिकर्तुमवप्लुतो रथस्थः धृतरथचरणो अभ्ययाच्चलद्गुर् हरिरिव हन्तुमिभं गतोत्तरेयः This is a different meter, that's why. शितविशिखहतो विशीर्णदंशः क्षतजपरिप्लुत आततायिनो मे प्रसभम् अभिससार मद्वधार्थम् स भवतु मे भगवान् गतिर्मुकुन्दः विजयरथ कुटुम्ब आत्ततोत्रे धृतहयरश्मिनि तच्छ्रिये क्षणीये भगवति रतिरस्तु मे मुमूर्षो यमिह निरीक्षहता गता स्वरूपम् ललितगतिविलासवल्गुहास प्रणयनिरीक्षणकल्पितोरुमाना कृतमनुकृतवत्य उन्मदान्धा प्रकृतिमगन् किल यस्य गोपवध्वः मुनिगणनृपवर्यसङ्कुलेन्तः सदसि युधिष्ठिर राजसूय एषाम् अर्हणम् उपपेद ईक्षणीयो मम दृशि गोचर एषा विरात्मा तमिममह भजं शरीरभाजाम् तम इमम् अहम् अजं शरीरभाजाम् हृदि हृदि तिष्ठितम् आत्मकल्पितानाम् प्रतिदृशमिव नैकधार्कमेकम् समधिगतोऽस्मि विधूतभेदमोहः हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Actually, what is our great fortune, we don't know. Something that has happened of this caliber, Bhishma's passing away, which we did not attend, and Krishna's personal presence, and the exchange of love that happened between the two of them. Simply sitting with Bhagavatam in our own home, we can be completely transported into that place. This is one of the requests I have, learning from this, that just as Krishna is taking great interest in assisting a passing away devotee, to give him a confirmed success in his departure, which means going back to Godhead, that success is assured by the personal presence of the Lord. We all, in our lives, if we come across devotees who are about to pass away, or sometimes we usually get to know about them when they pass away, we should not be lazy or selfish, thinking that, oh, anyways, now what can I do? What role ever I have? Anyways, there are many other devotees who will be going, or whatever our mind may tell us. We should try our best to do something from our side to assist that devotee's departure from this world. And I have personal faith, not like a fruitive mentality, but actually this prayer in the heart, that someday when I am passing away, may devotees of the Lord be inspired to assist my departure from this world. Because we all need each other to gain leverage. On our own strength, we can only make X number of spiritual advancement. But together, if we assist, especially at those crucial moments, our own devotees, it will be such a wonderful experience for both the parties. So we should not be lazy, selfish, distracted or unwilling when it comes to helping devotees on about to pass away or have passed away levels. Whatever best we can do with the given situation, we should do our best. And Krishna is showing that by his own example. So, we will just study the first prayer and end for today. Shri Bhishma Uvacha Iti Matirupakallpita Vitrushna Bhagavati Satvata Pungave Vibhumi Swasukhamupagate Kvachid Vihartum Prakrutimupe Yadbhava Pravaha. Translation.
Vishwadev said, Let me now invest my thinking, feeling and willing, which were so long engaged in different subjects and occupational duties, in the all-powerful Lord Shri Krishna. He is always self-satisfied, but sometimes, being the leader of the devotees, he enjoys transcendental pleasure while descending on the material world. Although from him, only the material world is created.
So the first words, iti mati, gives the essence of what he's going to talk about throughout all those prayers. Basically, I'm going to make an offering of my thoughts. I'm already on the bed of arrows and are rotten enough, so to say, in the situation around for a long time. And I have nothing material to make an offering of to Krishna. So iti mati, I'm going to offer my full consciousness to Krishna. And upakalpita vitrushna. Upakalpita means earlier this mati was invested in diverse subject matters. But vitrushna, now I want to take it off from all those subject matters, withdraw from there, and I want to give it upakalpita. Now where is the upayojan? Bhagavati, the Lord who has 6 opulences. Satvata Pungava, the Lord who is the leader of the devotees, and Vibhu, one who is infinitely great. In him I want to invest my thinking, feeling and willing. Our consciousness is looking for these 3 things. What is most attractive? That is where consciousness flows. So Bhagavati refers to the 6 opulences, one who has in full, the most attractive person. Then consciousness is also attracted where it finds shelter. And our mind intelligence is always searching for good leadership to follow. Even all these isms that people come across, they actually surrendered their intelligence there. Whether it is hedonism, capitalism, anywhere. That is what the mati is flowing towards. It is flowing towards seeking shelter in a qualified person, or sometimes ideology. So, Satvata Pungava. Lord is the best leader you can get in your life. And our consciousness is also attracted towards something magnificent, great, wondrous. So, Vibhundi. So, that is how he is investing the consciousness. Now he talks of 2 qualities, primary quality and secondary quality of the Lord. What is the first quality he is meditating upon? Swa sukham upagate kvachid vihartum. So there are 2 translations. One is that Lord has attained self-satisfaction, swa sukha. But kvachid vihartum, he is fond of giving sukha to his devotees. He is self-satisfied, but he is fond of giving satisfaction to his devotees, and for that sake he performs his various activities. So this is one primary quality of the Lord. Swa sukham upagate kvachid vihartu. And the secondary quality of the Lord, prakrutim upeyushi yad bhava pravaha. Upeyushi means the Lord accepts the position of Prakruti. He is the one who creates Mahat Tattva, the 3 Purushas, Karanodakshai, Garbhodakshai, Kshirodakshai. So that is called accepting Prakruti. Yad Bhava Pravaha. Bhava Pravaha means from whom the creation, maintenance, destruction, this is called Bhava. Pravaha means the constantly made and annihilated kind of chain of constant flow of Srishti Sthiti Pralaya is maintained. That is called Bhava Pravaha. So he assumes the form, assumes the role in the jurisdiction of Prakruti by which he maintains Bhava Pravaha. So that is a secondary quality. So Prabhupada gives a very interesting twist. He combines these two and makes one statement out of that. He says, Lord is always self-satisfied, but sometimes being the leader of the devotees, he enjoys transcendental pleasure by descending upon the material world, although from him only the material world is created. So this term Swasukham Upagate. Recently I had gone to my hometown, Kolhapur, and my mama came to meet me. You know what is the expectation of your relatives from you? That there should be a nice get together wherein we get to share, our joys and sorrows, our successes and challenges, all in the background of nice cultural setting, good food, entertainment, you can call it family get together. So he was expressing, last 20 years we have not seen you or met you. Is it possible to arrange something like this where we have our whole families get together? I said, you are all most welcome to come to Pune. We will try to arrange for you. And I told my father, you should sponsor this. We should not keep them hankering too much. So, and then I was thinking about it. I never thought of these people's happiness for such a long time. Even a normal member in a community generally thinks, मेरे family को happiness कैसे मिलेगा, इसके community को कैसे happiness मिलेगा. So we become sometimes so one-sided. Instead of Loka Sangraha, we do Loka Sangram. After hearing Bhagavad Gita. So I called, one senior devotee and asked, this kind of proposal is coming in my family. Is this bona fide to arrange a get-together with all your family members and give them some, so to say, entertainment? Of course, entertainment, not we are going to watch movie or something like that. But everybody comes. There are kids, there are cousin brothers. I have become mama of so many. My God, it is like whole gang. I have 7 cousin sisters, 15 cousin brothers. Huge family. And then all of them have children. So they are all saying कि अरे इसका बच्चा गिटार बजाता है, उसका बच्चा कराटे सीखा हुआ है, उसका. So everybody has to show their talent before their mama, and so everybody else also, of course, in the family. So there is a whole expectation about it. And I thought for a while, ordinarily speaking, a family man lives for what? To give pleasure to his family. It's a simple thing to live for. Sometimes he will, अपना पेट काट के या जो भी मगजमारी करके finally wants that these people be happy, around. Where does this mentality come from? It comes from Krishna, because Krishna feels great pleasure in his family. For their sake, he is willing to put up all kinds of things. So that is called Swasukham Upagate. He follows, Upagata means he follows behind Swajana Sukha. That is Swasukha. He considers his happiness in the happiness of his clan, so to say, devotees. And that's why it's called Satvata Pungava. He's the leader of the devotees who derives great pleasure in making them happy. So, one of the ways to get self-realization is to get connected with one's own roots. Where do I come from? What has brought me up in the current status that I have come inside? Who are all those people who are contributive in the making of Bal Govinda Das or whatever your name? And to get the ability to understand our roots, our development, our flourishment, and our contribution. It is all a sequential and integrated process. Sometimes when we become devotees, we cut the roots, cut the things around here and there, and we think, okay, now I have got Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja, that kind of. But actually we cannot run away from it. We have to understand our deeper connections with Krishna And through Krishna with Vyashti, Samashti, Srushti, everything. Vyashti means connection with his own body, mind, intelligence. वो भी काम का है, you know, bhakti के. And then Samashti means the family and the community. And Srushti means the nature around and the environment through which we came in. So the more we become connected like this, we start developing self-realization. You start becoming aware of who you are. Where do you come from? Where are you going? What are you supposed to be doing in life? So the point is, just like the Lord, we should also do something swasukham upagate, which means there are two types of families we have. We have our blood relatives and we have our devotee family, Vaishnava family. For both these people, we should do something that will bring them great satisfaction. Of course, within the realm of Krishna consciousness, we are not going to do crazy things. If they ask us to drink or smoke or whatever. But we should work in that direction. In that lies our growth and happiness. Thank you all very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hare Bol.